Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jen, and today I will be recapping Artist Way Week 7, the week of connection. This week was not the week of connection that I was hoping for. I was hoping for maybe a serene connection to source, or finally finding that river under the river. But no, this week was of disconnection, of troubled connection, of miscommunication, and overall lots and lots of hurt feelings. I'm going through a breakup right now, which is just awful. It's just the worst thing in the world. I did have some trouble with my friendship connections, friends that I've had my whole life. And so it's been a big week of trying to care for my connections as best as I can, but you know, that's all I can do, and just things are kind of falling through the cracks, it feels like. My connections are disturbed. And this was the week of connection, so I guess I got to take a long, hard look at them, take responsibility for how I've been a partner, for how I've been a friend, for how I've been a sister. So now I'm moving more into isolation. I'm back in Prague. I'm back in my beautiful room in my apartment where I have space to go through my emotions. I have really big emotions right now, and it just feels so good to have a space and to have my things, to have mediums of art that I can dabble in. And overall, I'm feeling really excited for the ideas I have for my channel coming up. So anyway, back to the Artist Way. To recap the week 7 that I had, I'm going to talk about what I learned from the readings, and then I will talk about the tasks, and then that will wrap the video. So let's get into it. The first subject she talks about in recovering a sense of connection is the idea of listening. And listening can look like a lot of different things. For me, the first thing I think about when I hear the word listening is opening up your consciousness to see more than just what's obvious in your physical world around you. For example, you can listen for signs from people who have passed, your ancestors, or maybe your spirit guides or your spirit animals who you believe in, or just signs in general, synchronicities, right? Where you are thinking, oh, really, I really want a bagel right now. And then somehow there's free bagel day at the corner store, you know? Listening for these types of things and letting them reaffirm your hope for a successful future, your hope that your dreams will come true. Julia talks about listening as in listening for that feed of information, of that artistic river that's flowing through you, and listening for it and letting yourself be a conduit, basically, for the creative energy to create something in your name. When we get something down, there is no strain. We're not doing, we're getting. Someone or something else is doing the doing. When you're in flow and you're writing a song, it should feel like you're getting cereal off of a shelf. And that reminds me of a Masego lyric, and he's very much on my mind right now because I'm going to see him this week and I'm so excited. He said, "There's gold inside my mind, just gotta find that song." Because he's saying he has the song in his head, he's just misplaced it, he's just gotta find it. And it reminded me of this whole cereal box idea. It's on the shelf, I just have to get it down, and it's whether or not you'll get the cereal box down or not, or, you know, if you can reach it yet. Maybe you're not artistically tall enough, and that's okay. Furthermore, going into this idea of artists being conduits for another artistic energy source, she says, "The brush takes the next stroke. In dance, in composition, in sculpture, the experience is the same. We are more the conduit than the creator of what we express." And to help us visualize this further, she says, "Like an underground river, they flow through us as streams of ideas that we can tap down into, like a well. And this quote in particular is a synchronicity for me that I just want to mention because, as I mentioned last week, I'm reading a book called Women Who Run with Wolves, and they talk about the Rio Abajo Rio, which is river under the river, and so I found it really interesting that both books are telling me to tap into a metaphorical river. I think that's really beautiful, and both are metaphors for an energy source, whether it's creative or simply spiritual. The practice of listening can be really difficult, especially for students of art like me, who haven't quite experienced it yet and who are not comfortable with casually tapping into it. So she reminds her students that their movie already exists in its entirety. Their job is to listen for it, watch it with their mind's eye, and write it down. The same may be said of all art. If painting and sculptures wait for us, then sonatas wait for us, books, plays, and poems wait for us too. Our job is to simply get them down. To do that, we drop down into the well. Just as I mentioned in the beginning of this listening section, Julia Cameron mentions that listening can also mean listening for synchronicities, just to know that you are on the right track and you're getting to where you need to be to eventually take down the cereal box. She says, "You will have the experience of finding things, books, seminars, tossed out stuff that happen to fit with what you're doing." And I'm gonna mention it again, Women Who Run with Wolves. Again, it's telling me how me going into the garage that one night in San Diego and digging through my sister's books and finding this one and having it just call to me. It was like yelling at me in my hands. That was a sign that I'm heading in the right direction, or at least I'll take it that way, because why not? And finally, she ends the listening portion with this quote: "Expect the universe to support your dream. It will. I'm not alone at any point in time." And sometimes you just need a reminder of that. So, thank you, Julia Cameron. The next subject she talks about in Recovering a Sense of Connection is the idea of perfectionism. She says, "Perfectionism is a refusal to let yourself move ahead. It is a loop, an obsessive, debilitating, closed system that causes you to get stuck in the details of what you are writing or painting or making and to lose sight of the whole." We as humans are hardwired to focus on negative stimuli to, satiate our innate desire to survive. There's a tendency for humans in the modern age, when we don't really have to think about survival in the same way our ancestors did, to focus on mistakes and to let mistakes be these mind-shattering little negative stimuli that we blow up out of proportion. And so, absolutely, if you struggle with paralysis by analysis, then you know what I'm talking about. But as Bob Ross famously said, mistakes are just happy accidents. And it's always a good reminder to keep that in mind, because perfectionism will get you nowhere. If you think perfectionism is a good trait of yours, I would try to not think that way. Finally, she quotes Paul Gardner and says, "A painting is never finished. It simply stops in interesting places." She then says, "That is a normal part of creativity, just letting go." It was nice to hear that a normal part of creation is letting things go, letting things die, letting things end, to make space for new creations and new beginnings. Because I'm moving through heartbreak right now, which feels like just a big end, there is a need for me to have that affirmation that this will create space for not only me, but my ex-partner, and to have a future of more possibility. The next section she talks about in this reading is risk. We deny that in order to do something well, we must first be willing to do it badly. She defines risk, and I liked this quote the most. "Very often a risk is worth taking simply for the sake of taking it. There is something enlivening about expanding our self-definition, and a risk does exactly that." You never know what yes, you're gonna get. You never know what opportunity you're gonna get. You might as well do it. I took a risk this week and I am waiting to hear back if it will pay off, but I'm very excited. It just felt good to take a risk. Yeah, I was nervous and I had butterflies in my stomach, but taking a risk feels really good. Feels really good. Finally, she talks about the subject of jealousy. Jealousy is always a mask for fear. Fear that we aren't able to get what we want. Frustration that somebody else seems to be getting what is rightfully ours, even if we are too frightened to reach for it. This book has really helped me work on my jealousy, and if you are working through jealousy, if you are a jealous person and you hate it about yourself and you want to change it, just get this book because it really helps you see it from a different perspective. I won't get too much into it, but jealousy is an indicator. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It is an indicator for where you want to go in your life. So it's important to think about it like that and to change your perception on that nasty feeling. That is the end of the reading, and now we will get into the tasks. The first task I did this week was a listen to music and doodle task. Super fun. Actually, the day that I opened the task pages, my friend sent me a symphony to listen to, and so I listened to it, and it was gorgeous, and I doodled it, and it was very dark and lots of anxiety, so it was really fun to doodle, and I'll insert a picture of the doodle that I made. The next task I did was to wear my favorite item for no reason, and I was headed over to Barnes & Noble this past week before I left for Prague because I wanted to grab a book for the plane, and I wore new earrings that I bought and my favorite green pants, and I just felt like $1,000,000 going to the bookstore, and it was really great, so thank you for this task. I also did a collage as one of the activities this week. Not only are my journals collages, images that I found on the internet, but this specific collage task was to go and find a magazine, which I thankfully found in my house. It was old magazine, a Life magazine that came out in 1989, I believe, and to rip through it and to find images. And this was an activity that my sister did a lot as a kid. She's 15 years older than me. So I would watch her doing this when she was in high school, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I thought she was the coolest person ever because she was ripping up a book. I was like, gosh. So I got to do that, and it was really fun. I'm super happy with how the collage turned out, and I'll insert a picture of that as well. 2 other tasks were to list our 5 favorite films and to list our 5 favorite reading genres, and then to try to connect them in some way, basically, and try to find patterns in what films we like to watch versus what thoughts we have in our head and what themes we have throughout our lives. So these are the tasks I did this week, and I'm a little confused with how they directly related to recovering a sense of connection, but I'm just going to walk away from this week a different girl. That's all I can say. The tasks were really fun. The things that happened this week were not really fun. And yeah, I feel like I'm teetering in between insanity and despair. Not really, much. However, I was really grateful that I could just sit down this week and make a collage. That was really nice. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to week 8, which is recovering a sense of strength, which I think is great for me because I'm feeling inside, my heart, my soul, I'm feeling kind of weak. So I'm excited to feel like I'm having some strength back, but I'm not gonna force myself or rush myself on my healing process, and I'm really proud of myself for getting in front of this camera and filming right now because yesterday I wouldn't have thought it was possible. So, good job, me, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later.